Hello, all heroes, and welcome back to Invincible guarding the Globe. And today we are going to go over the kit for Machine Head, the latest character to be added to the criminal faction and the latest support character added to the game. But before we do get into that, if you're enjoying this content and you want to see more, go down below the video and subscribe to the channel. And if you do want to support me further, we do have a Patreon link down in the description below. Now, Machine Head is one that frankly surprises me it took him this long to come to the game, as technically speaking, at least as an NPC and a little PNG asset if nothing else, he has been in the game for a hot minute, but he has now been officially added. Now, this is a conversation that I couldn't tell you when I had this conversation. I think it was on stream, but we even theorized that Machine Head would make a lot of sense as a support character and as a summoner character. And well, the devs clearly agree, because that's kind of what we're cooking with here. So let's take a peek at what we've got. First of all, he is a criminal support character. It's not hard to see why he. Let me just get this cord out here. No, it's not hard to see why he is a support, as well. You know, he's the head honcho. He's the kingpin. He's the one who has all the minions to do the work for him. So it makes sense. Going into his tags here, he is Malefactors, the Order, Ranged, Armed, Leader, and Grounded. Now, there is already something to unpack here in the form of the Order tag. This is what replaced Married to the Mob. When the game first came out, the Order wasn't mentioned. At the time the game came out, we had only had Season 1 and I think the first half of Season 2, if I'm remembering correctly. So we had a Married to the Mob tag, but at that point, the Order had never been referenced. We only had a tease at the end of Season 2 with the dragon guy with the metal jaw, and then any criminal stuff with Titan and Machine Head was completely radio silent in Season 2. But then they came roaring back, in some cases quite literally, in Season 3 with the Order. It's also worth mentioning that while Battle Beast is about to be relevant to Machine Head, Battle Beast does not actually have the Order tag. He used to be Married to the Mob. Now that has been just completely removed. They clearly, it wouldn't make sense for Battle Beast to have the Order. And hindsight being 2020, it didn't really even make sense for Battle Beast to have the Married to the Mob, because he was really there for his own purposes. It was more so a coincidence of convenience. So it makes sense. It does actually make sense that Battle Beast is no longer officially affiliated in the game. But let's take a peek at what Machine Head can do, because it is quite unique. He has his main ability, I've Got Money. Machine Head orders Isotope to summon two criminals, Kursk, Magmaniac, or Tether Tyrant. The summoned criminals inherit 35% of Machine Head's base attack and 30% of his other base stats. At level 10, that goes up to 55 and 40 respectively, and at 15, that goes up to 60% and 50. Now, this is a bit of a double-edged sword. Summoner characters have been on a pretty good upswing lately, with Doc Seismic with his totem summoning a Magmaniac to kind of take some aggro off him, with Krieg, who literally summons Viltrumites. This ain't quite that. Because, first of all, his summons are Kursk, Magmaniac, and Tether Tyrant. Two of those three. Those are rare characters, and also for the sake of GDA ops, it does not stack. If he pops this again, whoever it was on the field will actually be teleported away with two new characters replacing him. Even if it's Magmaniac, it might be, Magmaniac gets teleported away and a fresh Magmaniac hits the ground. You can't, they plan for that one. So, clap to you developers, you thought ahead. Good job. You can't just have a freaking you can't work it to have a freaking army of criminals. Kind of quirky as that would be, and kind of fun. You can't do that. On the one hand, it's rarely a bad day to have extra bodies on the field. Especially nowadays, like I said, summons have been on an upswing, and especially on certain characters who need allied deaths. Characters that come to mind is Totem Adam Eve. Even Cape Invincible actually kind of benefits from that because he actually does get an attack boost from dead humans. And Curse, Maniac, and Tether Tyrant are all human. But there's bad news with that. Kursk, Maniac, and Tether Tyrant are all human. Yeah, Anissa's gonna make mincemeat out of them, and unfortunately, their very existence means that a level 10 skill Anissa will be decreasing the defense of your entire team by an additional 10%. That hurts. That's tough. That's tough to reconcile. However, even in death, these guys do actually have a purpose, which we are going to take a look at in the form of death dividend. When an ally from the Order, who the previously mentioned characters are a part of, is defeated, the remaining allies immediately get a 1% boost to their max HP. We bump that up a little bit to level 5. It gets an attack boost as well. So level 10, you get a 3% boost to max HP and a 3% boost to attack, max 6 stacks. And then level 15, that goes up to 35% and 4% maximum 6 stacks. I mean, it's fine. It's alright. It's alright. It does say the remaining allies. It does not say remaining Order allies. So, if I'm reading this by the letter of the law, maybe. In fact, I want to see if I can find a way to test that, because I very well could be 100% mistaken. Because the problem is, it just says other allies. It does not say other Order allies. Let's see. There's probably a way I can make this work. No, that's Machine Head. Yeah, it's gonna take me a minute to get over there too. Bleh. Bleh. Well, let me see. Maybe if I just throw in some level 1s that drop dead, maybe he won't immediately murder them in the process. Because the kicker is, that buff is gonna live or die based on who it actually works for. We're gonna do that, and then I need somebody who's kind of passive. I guess we'll stick in maybe Seance Dark. I have no clue if this little test is gonna work. Oh, and of course Titan's not actually dying. Why? You're level 1. Why are you not dying? Hold on. That was dumb. I'm trying to be a good YouTuber here. Trying to do testing and all that jazz, but they're making it tough. Let's put a nice squishy Maniac up there. I mean, to be fair, I'm fighting very weak defenders, I suppose. There we go. Oh, nope, he didn't. Oh, when you try so hard and you don't succeed. Oy vey. Okay, I know there's a way I can do this. I know there's a way I can do this. Where there is a will, there is a way. Okay, took me a second to research that one, but yes, it does work on the whole team. Sorry, I wanted to make sure I was telling everybody right. So, characters that die from the Order boost the entire team. This is good, considering that he does kind of throw out cannon fodder on his main ability, as well as the fact that multi-pol is actually an option here, because multi-pol does have at least one death save, where when he dies, he creates effectively a summoned copy of himself to stay in the fight. And that would work on this. But is it enough? The problem is, I have always raised a little bit of an eyebrow at abilities that require death to work. Cape Invincible is kind of an idea of that. Thula, not so much, because Thula's ability was just so crazy for its time. But Lucan's kind of in the same boat. Machine Head tries to cheat, very on character for him, by summoning the characters that can then subsequently get nuked. But it can be a double-edged sword because of the Anissa problem. And the fact that Maniac, Kursk, and Tether Tyrant are nothing to write home about on a normal day and they're only having a percentage of Machine Head's stats. He is a support. Machine Head stats are not going to be anything crazy. So these two abilities they're fine. I mean, they synergize very well together. And if the day comes where we get dramatically better order heroes, which I'm going to assume is going to be sooner rather than later because we have the tag now. Okay, now we might be talking about something. But in its current iteration, it's fine. Probably really good for GTA ops. Now that's where this could start cooking something. But in any kind of competitive scene, you might be struggling a little bit. What's not struggling in the competitive scene is tactical bribery. Okay. At the start of battle and every 30 seconds, Machine Head bribes the enemy with the highest attack stat, applying confusion for 5 seconds. If we do get that leveled up a bit, it also boosts the confused enemy's attack by a shorter duration. Take it all the way up to level 10. It's confusion for 6 seconds and boosting their attack by 50%. And then if we take it all the way up to level 15, it boosts their attack by 60%. This one's pretty sweet, actually. Because here's the idea. It's the fact that it starts at the beginning of the fight that makes this so dang cool. Because he will hit the enemy with the highest attack stat, meaning that for the first 5 seconds, or the first 6 seconds, if you take it up to about level 3, which is an extremely cheap breakpoint, for 6 seconds, it's effectively a 6v4, which means that their strongest character for 6 seconds is not going to be hitting you. They are going to be hitting their allies, whittling down their shields, getting them a little easier to deal with, which is not the worst thing in the world. And then if you take it up all the way to level 10, on top of all that, they will do a nice chunky attack boost. Attack boost. I heard some concern about this applying to Conquest, because Conquest has a nasty tendency to shake off debuffs. I find that scenario unlikely, as while Conquest does get a pretty chunky attack boost if there's a leader on the team with them, it ain't that much. And frankly, if your Conquest has a higher attack stat than your Universa or your Blue Suit Mark or your Omni-Man, you probably have bigger fish to fry. There's a problem with that team. There is a problem with that team, for sure. So honestly, I don't think that's too bad. I think this would work pretty well. Now, it's a pretty long 30-second wait after the first one, but it really is that first 6 seconds where this bad boy works its magic. So honestly, if there's anything that does save Machine Head here, it's this. And like I said, that breakpoint is so easy. Level 3 goes up to 6 seconds. Level 4 gets that attack boost. I mean, literally, you could stop at level 4 and be fine, or you can take it all the way up to level 10 and be real fine. And last but not least, maybe, killing insects. When an enemy's HP drops to 30% or below, Machine Head summons Battle Beast, who inherits 50% of Machine Head's base attack and 30% of his other base stats. Max 1 Battle Beast summons simultaneously, cooldown of 30 seconds. We do bump this up a bit to level 10. It's 95% of Machine Head's base attack and 48% of his other base stats. And then at level 15, it is 120% of Machine Head's base attack and 55% of his other base stats. Here's the thing with that. I have tried so hard to be a Battle Beast defender. Often. I've even gone as far as to call him a pseudo Lizard League character, because he does do wounds really well. But there is no denying that Battle Beast is at best a glass cannon, and a bit of a slow one at that. And the problem is, if we're reading by the letter of the law of this ability, it is not a percentage of Battle Beast's main stats, which would at least make him usable. It's Machine Head's it's Machine Head stats, not Battle Beast stats. Machine Head is not an attacker. Machine Head is a support. Now, some supports have surprised us in the past. Krieg being a pretty picturesque example of a support that masquerades as an attacker. I don't know if we're going to see that with Machine Head. He's good. I don't know if he's that good. At least in the stat department. So at best, this battle beast is going to be a glass cannon who maybe gets one good hit and dies. At worst, he's going to get his first singed by Universa, and they won't even notice he was on the board. Ah, I know what they're going for here. The idea, the idea is that Machine Head is supposed to summon this crazy brutal sixth character that's going to come in and finish off the character who dropped below 30%. Realistically, I don't think that's going to happen. For one thing, it's actually become a noteworthy part of the game that characters tend to be at their best when they're on low HP. I mean, Blue Suit Mark, OG Mark, Shapesmith, the Immortal, anybody supported by Red Rush, anybody who has Canslock on him, Alan. Like, some of these characters are at their best when they're pushed to their limit. Surprisingly thematic to the show when you think about it, as that kind of is the case more often than not, but also kind of means that if you're going to wipe somebody out for being on low HP, you better do it right. It's part of why Blue Suit Mark is so dang good. And part of why I think Battle Beast is going to have a hard time doing that job. Like I said, best case scenario, he's a decent glass cannon. Worst case scenario, he's going to get immediately dropped by an AoE, and they won't even notice. So, do I think Machine Head is good? He has potential, but there are some flaws. Not unlike the Machine Head in the show, kind of his greatest undoing was relying on others. The problem is, Kursk, Magnemite, and Tether Tyrant are just begging for Anissa to come in and destroy them. Just literally gimp the entire team. Although, I mean, they probably won't last long enough to debuff the team for long. And then Battle Beast, while flashy, is unlikely to do enough. Tactical Bribery is okay, though. Not gonna lie. If there is one thing with this character that actually does really work, it's Tactical Bribery. A 6-second confusion at the beginning of the fight is pretty good, especially if you plop it on a Blue Suit Mark who just got shielded from a Krieg or an Adam Eve, so he's doing true damage to his enemies. That's kind of sweet. That is kind of sweet, not gonna lie. But one good trick does not make an S tier character. One good trick does not an S tier character make. Now, to be fair, this could be a Lizard League situation. King Lizard started out and he was a king without a kingdom. Then Iguana came out and maybe didn't help things that much, but then Komodo came out and I was like, oh, okay, cool. Now we got our little mini faction. This could be a situation with Machine Head where we need more order characters. We've got Titan, and that's really it. I mean, like I said, we've got some rare characters here, and Multipole actually does not have some bad synergy with Machine Head, because I think it's his third ability that just before dying he creates a copy of himself. And then he can do that once, and then he can do that twice once you get it leveled up a bit. And then if you're crazy enough to get him up to level 15, which is crazy, but he could technically do it 3 times. That it does have positive synergy with Machine Head. But again, like I said, one good trick does not an S tier character make. The confusion is cool, but everything else just does not keep up with the meta. He could do okay in GDA Ops, I think. When it comes to wave clearing, being able to wipe out waves with just bodies can actually serve you pretty well, not gonna lie. That actually can serve you pretty well. But if we're judging, I mean, most characters, even a well-built war woman can do okay in GDA Ops. Like, that's the idle mode. That's the grindy mode. Saying that they work well in GTA Ops is like saying a cardboard box makes a good shoe. Yeah, that's great until you actually start wearing it somewhere that matters. Maybe not the best analogy, but you get my point. It just doesn't work. Um, Now, as far as artifacts go, it's a little tricky for Machine Head. Part of me is tempted to go maybe flex an anti-aging bracelet because the faster he can get those units out, the better. Or you could go obedience collar. Ironically, obedience collar kind of works because it almost pseudo shortens his cooldown because his ability for his confusion is at the beginning of the fight and every 30 seconds. Well, if he has the obedience collar, it's the beginning of the fight. You get 6 seconds of confusion, and then 15 seconds later, at least at level 22 here, 15 seconds later, he gets another confusion. And then about 9 seconds after that, he gets another confusion. So it kind of chains. Bonus points if you maybe throw in some Shapesmith. There's rarely a place Shapesmith wouldn't work because Shapesmith has some nice confusion as well. There is kind of a meme team you could make with Shapesmith, Machine Head, the Obedience Collar, maybe even throw in a Russ if you're feeling real cheeky, where you could turn the enemy on themselves. You could. And have them tear each other apart. But is that gonna really get the job done? It's like, are you trying so hard to make something work that's not meant to work? I don't know. Additionally, you could go for the standard stuff. I mean, GDA healing gel. I think, when he gives a buff from the order character dying, that might provide some healing. Maybe battle hologram. It's not a massive cooldown, but you could probably do better. The point is, it's tough with Machine Head because I 100% see what they're going for. I 100% see what they're going for. And if the meta wasn't the way it was, I could see this working. But it's tough. It's tough when you've got characters who literally tear his allies apart. And when the allies he's using are either rares who are not going to stand up to much to begin with, or a character that is unfortunately flawed. That's tough. So you're probably not going to see Machine Head in a lot of competitive play, with the exception of maybe some restricted arenas. If there was a restricted arena that required order characters, I mean, yeah, he would work there, but also you wouldn't have much of a choice. So that is maybe a bit of a moot point there. So maybe don't go too out of your way. I went for the criminals pretty hard because I'm building lizards, regardless of whether or not they are good. Thankfully, in Komodo's case, and then to an extent King Lizard, they are good. And Iguana is hanging on. She's hanging on. But I kind of did it for other reasons aside from Machine Head, because right now Machine Head's not crazy. Now if we're planning for the future here and daring to have a little optimism, the Order is a brand new faction. And we know that there is a literal boardroom full of characters that they showed at the end of that episode that could be added to the game. Perhaps chief among them being the dragon guy with the metal jaw. Some new Order characters, if they are good, might elevate Machine Head to where he needs to be. Thankfully, Machine Head himself is not a human, even if the humans he summons might do more harm than good for the team if they're fighting Anissa. Or even do some good for you if they're boosting up a Cape Invincible. Lord knows he needs all the help he can get. There's just too many factors with this character that are working against him. That could change in the future. That could change. But for now, don't stress out too much if you don't have Machine Head. You'll be a-okay. But we're going to leave it at that. Let me know what you think of this character down in the comments below. Do you think he is maybe a subpar character, maybe a B tier character, or do you think he is a hidden gem just waiting to be pulled out of the dirt? Let me know what you think down in the comments below. And we're now going to take a moment to thank our YouTube members and Patreons. Special thanks to YouTube members Benjamin, Joe Bro, Rusnot, Shadow Nate, Joel Torres, and Andre Ramos. And special thanks to my Patreons, Lokehove, George Mowry, Diamond Dave, and William Marlin. Y'all are all awesome. And with that, we shall see you all next time. Have a good one.